Sleepy Pat once again, just literally taking naps on that
I
train.
will walk off this set right now. You guys, that Pat Riley slander continues.
Yeah, play the Godfather theme music.
He doesn't even put on a tie anymore when he goes to work.
No, man. You gotta.
Damn, Pat Riley.
Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Liu. I'm joined by co-host Alex Wong. You're listening to the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway. Make sure you find Hello and Welcome wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you continue to rate us in the Apple podcast charts. The YouTube page is probably the best way to find us as well. You can find us at Hello and Welcome. And of course, you can hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. Everything I've already told you about incessantly over the last week or so. We are obviously joined here by Alex Wong. We're back here at Hardo. Big shouts to Patois and the team for hosting us once again. And we are joined returning guests. Is he the first returning guest or no? I don't know.
You had Oren on like 6 times during the Olympics.
That's
so
different.
Probably not.
That was a Canada basketball exception. Yeah. But shouts to Oren. Happy birthday, buddy. You may have turned 30. Maybe.
Yeah, finish your book.
Maybe
bro.
29. But in any case, we're joined once again by Joseph Casciaro of theScore. You can catch him on the Unfiltered series on the YouTube page. You've already had us on there, so it's it's the
Unfiltered show, my brother.
Show. My goodness.
Alex on point. Yeah.
Come on, man.
The Unfiltered series runs every Friday. The Unfiltered show, which is the studio show I've had you guys on. Put it up. We record it every Tuesday. Yeah. It goes up shortly after. We'll have you guys on again next week.
Can't wait.
You guys will be
Anytime
the first returning guests on that show.
Wow.
Can't wait. It was either us or John Henson, bro.
Yeah. Oh, technically, John Henson is the first returning.
Oh, no. We got scooped.
That's your
No, but check out, honestly, check out theScore's YouTube page. A lot of great content, not just in the basketball space and elsewhere as well. So
great video essays, man.
Great video essays. Yeah, setting the standard in the industry.
I didn't know Jonah Birnbaum knew basketball like that sometimes.
Yeah. When I'm away getting married, Jonah fills in on b-ball.
That's right. Freshly married Joseph Casciaro.
That's right.
Hang his jersey up in Scarborough.
You're the one who said they got to hang 2 jerseys for me like Kobe. One in Corktown, one in Bamberg. Let's go.
It would be like the white tux and the black tux.
Yeah. Let's go.
2 outfits for the wedding. Great wedding, man.
Oh,
Thanks.
man. Wonderful wedding. We can talk about a little bit about that later. But what are we doing today, Will Lou?
Well, this is your idea, so I want you to present this because today we are drafting the most important guys for this upcoming NBA season. The only note that you put in the chart was drafting the most important guys in the league who will define this NBA season. So it's a little ambiguous. Like it's kind of like the MVP award. You know what I mean? Like by not defining valuable, you leave each voter to decide what is valuable.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do because I think I want to get your perspectives too on what you guys think, are the guys that are most important and how that's defined by this year. I think it's easy to go through like the top players in the league or talk about the top teams, but I also feel like there's a lot of guys in the league who could swing a team or swing a conference this season. So we're going to draft 5 rounds today, and then we're going to have 2 bonus rounds. We're going to have a wild card round, and then I want a non-player round too. So most important non-player guy.
Okay,
yeah.
Non-player
so the
guy.
Ming.
The Ming?
Wow.
Yow.
No.
So I know you guys have done a lot of prep on this. As usual, the draft order, it's Will Lou's show, so Will goes first. Guest always goes second. Cash goes second. And, I always take, the rear. So could have worded that differently. I'm going third. Will Lou, round 1. Yeah. You're up. Who is your number 1 most important guy for this NBA season? Miss you, Derek.
Oh yeah, seriously, man. Jerome, maybe you can just drop in a little like Adam Silver, draft music.
He's currently clipping something, so let's
just leave the option open for him. Okay,
let's hear your pick, brother.
First overall pick, I'm going with Victor Wembanyama. I just wanted Victor on my roster, no matter what. This is the bigger picture. Okay, it's not about the season in terms of are they going to win the championship this season? Is this player gonna change the fortune of the league this year? Because for me, that obviously is not going to happen with the Spurs. I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs. You know what I mean? Even the most optimistic person would say if they made the play-in, it's a great season for them out west. However, if Victor continues what he did towards the end of last season and takes another step forward, we already saw great performances in the Olympics. I think it's most important for the future of the league. I think the league very much right now has been on who is going to take over after LeBron, after Steph, this person that we obsess over, the person that's like talked about first block, first take every single day, and we like sort of like, you know, like that the league has always been built around these generational players, right? Like before that, it was like they were talking about Kobe and Shaq every day. And before that, they were talking about Jordan, I guess on the newspapers, you know what I mean? Chicago Tribune hidden somewhere near you. Sports Illustrated magazines, you know what I mean? But just like when they were looking for who's the next Jordan or whatever, before LeBron came along, kind of took the whole thing. I think, yeah, Victor is going to determine that for the whole league. And this is like year 2, the birth of that for him. You know, you could tell me any stat line for Victor, and I'm pretty much not going to not believe it. So,
yeah, I think even if you thought the Spurs were going to win 19 games, you still have to have Victor Wembanyama somewhere on your list of MIGs, most important guys, as Alex calls them, because of that generational factor and the fact that, like, when you just look at what he was as a rookie, if he's even incrementally better than that this year, which he will be, I think he's going to win Most Improved Player and Defensive Player of the Year and be an All-NBA, or like, guys that good at his age and with his unique skill set, they do come to define a generation. And so every year, especially early in his career, he'll be one of the most important guys. And just a quick stat on Wembanyama. And I know this is, you know, it's a little in the weeds, and I know all-encompassing stats don't always tell us everything. But so last year, Wembanyama was a 3.8 VORP player on Basketball Reference, okay? So it's kind of similar to like baseball's WAR, if you will, right? So he was a plus 3.8 in that regard. So I'm thinking, okay, even if he's incrementally better this year, I was like, say he's like just a 4 VORP player. I wanted to see in recent history how often 4 VORP players play for teams that are not at the very least top 10 in their conference.
Okay.
In the last 5 years, there have been 36 instances of players posting 4 VORP. Like, it's rare. Like, you got to be a top player to be. Okay? There are only 36 guys in the last 5 years. 35 of those 36, at the very least, played on top 10 teams. And the only guy that didn't was Luka in 2022-23 when the Mavs purposely tanked the final week of the season. So basically, recent historic precedent suggests that a guy as good as Victor should be this year, when you have that guy, it's almost impossible not to be at least a play-in team. Now, I know that doesn't take everything into account. It doesn't take into account the bloodbath that is the Western Conference and all that. But, like, I think even though no one's sleeping on Victor, I think people are sleeping on how good the Spurs can be very quickly, just based on the fact that in the NBA, it's very hard to be that bad when your best player is that good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I just want to see, like, again, like, is this going to be – I don't think it's like a one-year thing with Victor, like, at all. Like, this is like – he had probably, like, one of the top 2 or 3 best rookie seasons in the last 30 years. Like, it was that good. Like, the only ones you could really throw in there, I thought Luka's rookie season was ridiculously good. And I think that, like, you can maybe go back and look at, like, even like Tim Duncan. Like, it's in that range. Now, of course, I think Tim Duncan as a rookie was like way more impressive, but he also came in way older. Victor was like coming in overseas, adjusting that front. There were still a couple games when he started the season that were a little underwhelming. And then towards the end of the season, I loved how much, like, he went at a guys like KD. That was one of his first breakout moments, was sort of how good he was against KD and Phoenix Suns. He went at Giannis. There was a game when they went back and forth, him and, Embiid, Joker. Like, he just doesn't, like, he wants it too, which for a young guy, like, I just love. So I needed to have Victor. He's my first overall pick. Cash, who are you taking with your first pick of most important guys?
This guy wouldn't have been on my list 2 weeks ago. And the trade made all the difference. And that's Karl-Anthony Towns.
All right.
This is a tri-state area guy being brought to New York to serve as the final piece of a championship puzzle for a Knicks team that is searching for its first championship in it'll be 52 years by the time this season ends. And it's a guy that, with his history, has something to prove. And it's crazy we're saying this given what he did against Jokic and the defending champs in the Nugget series. But then the conference finals was old cat in terms of kind of fading from the moment, making really weird decisions. He's got this reputation. Trouble. Yeah. He's got this reputation of, like, tepid play, but also over-eagerness at times. Like, he just never looks comfortable in the biggest moments. And even in a year where he should have shed that because of his performance against the Nuggets, it still ends up being the story because of his performance against Dallas. Now going to New York, like, a lot of the stuff with Cat was tolerated in Minnesota, where he was like a franchise mainstay, not as fervent about their team and like all that. It's not going to be tolerated at Madison Square Garden. There is a lot of pressure on him. Now, if you're just talking about skill-wise and the basketball fit, it shouldn't be an issue. Like his shooting, his offensive skill set is exactly what the Knicks need. His size too allows them, even though he's not, a great defensive center, size-wise, he's something closer to a traditional center than Randall would have been if they had to start small with him, or even Precious Achua. So
brother.
Yeah,
that was not going to work.
Exactly. So he gives them that option to start the season as a defensive five. Obviously, when Mitchell Robinson's back, they can play together because of Towns' shooting. He can sleepwalk his way to 20 points while also warping a defense without touching the ball. Like, everything about it is this guy's the perfect secondary star, strictly talking about skill set and on paper, and perfectly completes this Knicks team. They can win a title. They really can. Probably for the first time in our lifetime, or since the early 90s. But then everything that comes with that, with Cat and all the issues and the playoff demons, like this to me is, and I know it's not just this year, but these next couple of years, his Knicks tenure is really going to define his legacy. Yeah. And I just think when you consider how close the Knicks are to finally getting over the hump, and the fact that they also can't do much more, they've used a lot of their bullets. To me, Cat and what he does this year, more so like 6 to 8 months from now, is one of the most important things this year.
Yeah, that's why I was like super skeptical about the trade. Is like on paper, like you mentioned, like what Cat brings to the table, exactly what the Knicks needed to fill in. But Cat is probably like the last guy that I would pick to be put into this spotlight in terms of like, he knows the pressure that comes with joining this team. He knows the pressure of being in New York. There's just like this try-hard energy about Cat that's not going to really mesh, I feel like, with the Knicks like fan base and stuff. And again, all this stuff is like off-court stuff that I don't know how much it's going to matter if they're like a really good team. But we've seen Cat, like Cash mentioned, like we've all seen Cat have terrible moments in the playoffs. Like when you get into those series with Boston, with Philadelphia, when it's a game 6, when it's a game 7, and this is not a particularly deep like Knicks roster, and they need him out there. Like, is he going to catch 4 fouls in the first half in crunch time? Like, what's his shot selection going to be like? I think all those questions are still there for Cat. And that's my biggest worry with Cat being on this team in the spotlight.
Well, Cat was definitely on my list. I'm more optimistic about this scenario because I feel like the Knicks really, really needed more offense watching them. Even when they got by the Sixers, which was really like the series of the entire playoffs for me, was Knicks Sixers going 7 games. That series could have been wrapped up a lot earlier for New York if they just had any more offense. And they've obviously suffered a lot of injuries too. But like the thing with Cat is, okay, can you in a series against Philadelphia, can you guard Joel Embiid? You know what I mean? Without like being a complete liability defensively. And then in a series against Boston eventually, can you move your feet and guard a 5-out offense? And if he can't do that, then yeah, it kind of feels like if the Knicks fail, it'll just be on Cat. It feels weird because it feels like he's not the most important player, and yet everything hinges on him. So I like this. All right, Alex, who you got as your first MIG?
All right, just so you guys know, I'm going wild off the board on a lot of these.
You always do.
I thought there was only supposed to be 2 wild card rounds.
The way that I'm approaching this,
Allen Iverson in the all-time draft.
The way that I'm approaching this is really just like guys who I think are going to be super important on like really good teams.
Okay.
I'm taking another New York Knick. I'm taking OG Anunoby as an important player because the more I think about this Knicks team, I feel like they lost a bit in terms of their defensive identity. The Knicks were 20-3 last year with OG in the regular season. I think everybody knows he was like a plus 353 when he was on the court. The team's a little different now. They lost him in the playoffs. I mean, they lost all the guys to like injuries and stuff.
Yeah.
I look at the regular season games played the last 5 seasons, 43, 48, 67. Last 2 seasons, 27 and 23. He missed playoff games.
I think that's split between New York.
Yeah, that's split. But it's like he's injury prone. He signed the huge contract last season. I just think when you get to the playoffs, OG can guard a bunch of different positions. He's going to be critical against Philadelphia. He's going to be critical against Boston. Probably the 2 teams that you have to go through. I really think he's the swing guy for the Knicks. Like if OG is that guy and he's available and he's that two-way guy, like I think that lifts the Knicks into that championship contention tier for me.
But so you just don't trust his health.
I just want to see it for a full season. I want him to be available. That's why I think he's one of the most important guys. I think if he's there, if he's available, if you tell me that he's going to be available playing at this level, then I really like the Knicks to win the East. So So I'm going with OG here.
Damn. So wait, who's more important for the Knicks, man? OG or Cat? Because you guys both took Knicks guys first.
And we haven't talked about Mikal Bridges. I mean, I don't know if one of you guys has Mikal Bridges. I don't.
I don't think of him as important.
I'm just gonna draft all. But I'm just gonna draft all Knicks.
Think of everything they gave up for him.
Campaign.
Think of everything they gave up for him. Like, if you're the Knicks, you would hope that even if OG is hurt, obviously, like, you want all your guys healthy and rolling. But if OG's hurt, you would think, okay, well, we have Mikal Bridges, who's almost what OG is defensively. Not quite, but
he just doesn't have the strength.
He doesn't have the strength.
Like, even like going back to that Sixers series, he spent lots of time guarding Embiid.
Yeah.
And now, of course, they were like trying to switch some pick and roll so that he could switch on to Maxey when they ran that pick and roll. But like the fact that you have a guy who can guard Embiid and also guard Maxey is nuts.
That's my thing. That's my thing. It's like OG can answer like a lot of questions for you in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like as much as all these pieces are great with the Knicks, I feel like if you remove OG from like the playoff team when they're making the run, like I think it's gonna be a huge swing for them.
He is very much a glue guy. Like on any team he's on.
Yeah.
So I really think he's max level glue guy.
The glue's not always around. That's the problem. You know?
I really think he's the guy that can like really swing the East this season.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know why I took him in the first round, but
I was gonna say this would have been on the board for round 5, buddy. Would have kept him on the board. All right, we're going to round 2.
Round 2,
most important guys. You know what? I'm gonna say this for later, just based on what's been picked here already. But I'm gonna go with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah. This is a Thunder team that, for the first time in Shai's career, has high expectations. Even last season, they were like, sexy blogger pick. This is a pretty good team.
Sexy beast.
Chet's healthy now. Jalen Williams, you heard about him. Now all of a sudden, there's expectations on the whole team. Yeah. The prevailing pick, I think even in the GM survey and stuff, is that like they're going to be the ones winning the West. Yep. And it's like they've never been in this position before. And the one guy that I trust with the most composure on that team by far is Shai. And we're always biased because we've seen all of his Team Canada performances. But the good thing about seeing the Team Canada performances, pretty much every damn game they go in the tournament, whether that's the World Cup or the Olympics, it's do or die, right? And just seeing that context, that pressure put on Shai over and over again, and him coming through. Now, of course, the caveat is it's like against Australia or against France or against like Serbia. Like it's not the same thing as against an NBA team. But at the same time, I've seen Shai come through so many times. And this is set up right now where if the Thunder have a really good regular season, Shai was already number 2 in MVP votes. He could probably, be the MVP for this season, right?
He's my pick.
Right? There you go, right? And then, of course, I think a lot of people are picking the Thunder to not only be the number 1 overall seed, but as one of the likely candidates to represent them for the Western Conference in the finals. So all that really comes down to Shai, though, because like the other guys, like, yes, there's good. And it's cool that they added 2 more, like, glue guys, and those guys are good, but it's all up to Shai. And I don't know, man, even in the playoffs last year, like I know there were some moments where I felt like he could probably just take his game up to another level. But even overall, he averaged 30 points per game in the playoffs, shooting 50% from the field and 43% from 3. Like, it's outrageous, man. And I still don't feel like he's hit his ceiling yet. So I got to get Shai on my team.
Yeah, he's an insanely talented and productive player who's been All-NBA first team now 2 years in a row, runner-up MVP last year. I think he gets MVP this year.
Yeah.
All of those reasons, but also because of the team success we all envisioned the Thunder having. Like, they were the youngest 1 seed and youngest playoff series winner ever last year.
Damn.
And then they addressed arguably their biggest weakness with getting Hartenstein. I know he's hurt to start the year, he'll be fine. And like that addresses their biggest weakness. Then they add Alex Caruso to an already elite defensive team. Like, this team's going to be top 5 on both ends. I think they're going to win the West in the regular season. And I think they'll challenge Boston for the best record all year, league-wide. I just think that with the Caruso and Hartenstein additions, I think this team is like as close to perfect or flawless as it gets in the West. There are no holes on this team left. And I think given how good Shai is, how productive he is, and how excellent this team will be start to finish, I think he ends up winning MVP.
The only question I have about the Thunder are like, if you bring in a center to play alongside of Chet, are you still playing 5 out? But at the same time, Hartenstein knows how to handle himself. Like he's not. I mean, I was getting paid $30 million. By the way, if you played for the Knicks last season, congratulations, you cashed out this year, man. Holy! And if you didn't, you got traded to Minnesota apparently. And Julius Randle.
Did Alec Burks get $30 million, bro?
By the way, do you know where Alec Burks is playing?
Detroit.
No.
Was it?
Phoenix.
I'm such a sicko,
No,
bro.
Who is it?
Phoenix?
I'm watching preseason basketball last night between the Atlanta Hawks and the Miami Heat.
Which one?
Exactly. He's on Miami.
He's on Miami?
He's coming off the bench in Miami.
All right,
yeah, I was a little surprised. Sorry, I had to watch something before WNBA Game 3, and it just so happened to be that. But
NBA's cooked.
yeah. Okay, Shay's my pick. Cash, who you got for round 2? Who you got for
All
round
right,
2?
I'm kind of sticking with a theme here because I know it's trade related, but
okay.
I think Paul George has to be.
Ooh, that's a great pick. Yep,
Like,
yep.
This is the guy that's sorry. I keep playing with this court. I feel like Bob Barker walking around pulling this court away. The guy that's supposed to help Embiid get over the hump and then fill. I mean, we talked about the Knicks. Cat helping them end the title drought. Paul George is just trying to help the Sixers end this conference finals drought now that's going on 25 years by the time we get to the end of, or 24 years by the time we get to the end of the season. But similar to Cat, comes with a lot of those postseason demons, right? Like, other than probably a couple years in Indiana, this is a guy with a very murky postseason history. I mean, I guess also the year the Clippers finally got to the West Final. But Paul George in the postseason has not been the same player as Paul George in the regular season.
Yep.
And the Sixers can't have that be the case. Like, given that he's supposed to serve as the final piece, the fact that, again, similar to Cat, when you just think about it from a basketball perspective, it makes so much sense. Maxey, George, Embiid is as perfect and balanced as a big three gets in the modern NBA when healthy.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
The question is, or the problem is, when healthy is a major if for this team, right? Like, Embiid is already out for the preseason and is talking about never playing a back-to-back again. Paul George is already out maybe for the season opener because of a knee issue.
Yeah, he really hyperextended that thing, man.
Yeah. So, like, there are a lot of reasons to still be concerned before we even get to his actual playoff resume.
Right.
He needs to be the best version of himself for Philly to get over the hump, for Embiid to get over the hump. And I just think there's so much in Philly riding on him and in the NBA this season riding on his performance. Again, I know we're talking more like 6 to 8 months down the line, but even in the regular season, if you look at how good Paul George was last year, he also played 74 games. I can't remember,
year.
Yeah. I can't remember what the number was, but it's a very select list of players who's averaged at least 22 plus points on the efficiency that he did last year. Like, he had an incredible offensive season last year. He's still capable on any given night of carrying an offense. But he's perfectly cast here where he's like a second or third option. Him and Embiid theoretically should be able to keep each other healthy because the burden's lower. They've got Maxey there. Like, he's a great two-way player. It fits. It's so good. He is the right guy to get Embiid and the Sixers over the hump.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of proving it still to do, and he's going to stay healthy. There's just so much riding on him. I think he has to be in this list somewhere.
How do you think he's going to adapt to being the third option?
I think he's going to adapt really well, man. Like, I think it's going to help him age gracefully, given his skill set, because he is such a great shooter, spot up movement, like everything. I think obviously he can attack off the dribble, like, if the ball gets to him. I think he's going to adapt to it really well, and I think he's also self-aware enough to realize
he's joining something in progress.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
he's at a stage in his career where, like I said, he's probably looking at, trying to prolong his career too, and what better way to do that with a lesser load. It just comes together so perfectly because even if Embiid's out, Maxey and George is still great. If George is out, Maxey and Embiid, we know what that is. The problem is, again, if George and Embiid are both out, which might be the case too often, then you're running into trouble.
Can I ask you about Paul George's last playoff series?
It's probably not great. That's what I'm saying. His postseason resume leaves something to be desired.
There was a 7-point game in there. He averaged 19.5 on 41% shooting from the field. Obviously, Kawhi going down,
that was a weird series for him. Kawhi was coming back like every other game and then sitting out.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm just generally down on the Sixers because I would love for them to fail. Outside of Maxey, I really do love Maxey, man. Except when he plays the Raps and drops 30 every time. But I don't know. There's just something about them, man. Even the Paul George's career playoffs, like, there's like a nice thing on Basketball Reference where you can like break it down by playoff series. 8-11 all time in playoff series for Paul George. Surprisingly low for a guy who, is quite good. But I'm just trying to find reasons.
Well, this is someone that Cash famously called the Tin Man one season during the playoffs. I know he turned that around a little bit during that run, but it's like when you look at the whole body of work, there's a lot of questions about PG. He's almost like the anti-Jimmy Butler, where when you get to the playoffs, like you actually don't know what you're gonna get from him.
That's actually a sick comp. All right.
Yeah.
Why did I drive OG first?
Well, I was gonna say you could have taken OG anywhere, man. I don't think anyone was
I could have just not taken OG.
We could have done part 2 of this tomorrow, and OG would still be on the board.
We're talking some big names up here, but you got OG. All right, who you got round 2, buddy?
I'm going with Jamal Murray. I think.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think coming off the playoff run last season. So when they won the championship 2 years ago, he was like over 26 points a game in the playoffs. 47% from the field, 40% from 3, like the perfect number 2 guy next to Jokic. And we saw that already before he was injured too. We saw what he did in the bubble. He had built such a reputation of being just such a killer in the playoffs. And then, he had some big moments in the postseason last year, but it kind of just, it didn't show like the whole body of work. He was like 40% from the field, 30% from 3, just different player. And he looked very different in the Olympics too. And I know there's a lot of talk about his health. He's now signed this new contract extension.
Right.
They lost KCP. That's another team that's a little bit locked in now in terms of, we've got Jokic, we've got Murray, we've got Michael Porter Jr. I feel like people are a little bit down on the Nuggets coming into this season. But I think if Jamal can get back to just being what we know Jamal Murray can be, I feel like the Nuggets should be right back up there as a top contender. All you need next to Jokic is the Jamal Murray that we've come to know. So I think he's a huge swing guy coming into this season.
Why was Jamal so bad against Minnesota? Because I think even in the Lakers series, even though he wasn't like consistent and like super, super great, because we're used to Jamal taking it to such a high level in the playoffs. He's like one of those guys that has almost a Kawhi kind of thing of like huge delta between like what he does in the regular season versus what he does in the playoffs. But I also feel like part of the reason he cooks the Lakers so much is like they're guarding him with D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves. Like at some points, like, you're going to be able to cook weaker defenders. I thought Minnesota threw a lot of length and size at him. And I'm just wondering, like, with his health slipping and also that being the new coverage against him, is that, I don't know, is that like, I hope it's not a one-time thing because it would really suck. It would literally cut the Nuggets off at the knees as a championship contender if Jamal's not excellent. Yeah.
Like a big part of, obviously Jokic is the biggest part, but a big part of their success is how perfectly those two fit together on offense, and the fact that a guy who is a good but not great regular season player, a 0-time All-Star, performs like an all-time Hall of Fame legend in the playoffs, right? In the playoffs, the Nuggets have had 2 superstars for the most part. Yes. That's why going into that Minnesota series, I think they were like something like 8-3 or 9-3 in playoff series when both those guys were in the lineup. But he didn't look the same against Minnesota. No. And maybe that was their length and the defense they were throwing at him between Ant and Conley and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And maybe it was his health. What happened with Team Canada certainly didn't help the reputation coming out of that. But given the extension they've now given him, like you talk about him being a most important guy this year and defining this season, he's going to be a most important guy in defining the next few seasons because I talked about this recently as well. Like he was already important to what they did and they were able to win with him at a certain level, but now he's making a different level of money. Like he's going to be making 30% plus of the cap pretty much every year in the second apron world when obviously they're going to keep maxing out Jokic. Like there is not going to be a lot of margin for error in the Nuggets roster construction. We've already seen them lose core guys because of the roster crunch and the cap crunch. If Jamal Murray does not actually play up to the level or close to the level of his contract, the Nuggets will not be able to win, and they don't have a lot of room for maneuvering either. So, like, it maybe seems a little alarmist, but if Jamal Murray doesn't up his game in the next year or two, the Nuggets-Jokic era, from a championship perspective, might already be over.
Yeah. He's so interesting, man. Like, even, like, last season, he actually had, like, probably his best percentages across the board. Like, he shot 48% from the field, 42% from 3 in the regular season, 85% from the foul line. He played 59 games, which is a little low, but at the same time, like, it's pretty decent for sort of what Jamal's kind of gone through. We know the body's a little banged up. And then he goes out and has that playoffs. And it just doesn't fully make sense to me. Like, he moves as if he's like 32. He's 27.
He's got a blown knee in his rear view, right? Like,
but it sucks. I don't know. Like, it was so alarming watching him play for Team Canada.
Yeah.
I was trying to rationalize, like, yo, if you can give me like 10 points and like 4 assists off the bench, I'm happy. But it's like, yo, that's Jamal Murray, man.
He was a legit liability. Yeah. Where like even his biggest supporters, Canadians on social media, like tweeting in real time about getting him off the court because he was a liability.
Lee Van Osman.
Oh, word? Oh, we snitching now?
I'm just
Damn. Also, I didn't know
snitch 905.
Jamal averages 17.5 points for his career in the playoffs. That goes up to 25.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Incredible, man.
It is the biggest discrepancy between, because even a guy like Kawhi, you're still talking about like an all NBA caliber regular season player.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray is a 0-time All-Star.
Who
has one of
0-time All-Star is so good.
He the new Mike Conley.
Yo, but legit, like, and even like Conley's a perfect example. Conley's never done that in the playoffs. Like,
no.
Jamal Murray in the playoffs has been superstar level. Like I said, you could show me Jamal Murray's numbers without telling me it's Jamal Murray's, and I'd be like, oh, that's some Hall of Famer. I just don't know who it is. It's Jamal Murray.
No, it's crazy. All right, that's a great pick. All right, I'm gonna stick with the theme for round 3. Taking another point guard that is very important to a championship contender. I'm taking Damian Lillard.
God damn it! All right,
I'm taking Damian
let me
Lillard.
Find another OG for round 3.
Oh, buddy, this guy gonna take. Who are you gonna take for the next round, man? Torrey Craig. So for Damian Lillard, last season, started the season around this time. The biggest thing was Dame getting traded to Milwaukee instead of Miami, right? So much talk about Miami, trying to trade for him. We saw so many Jaime Jaquez Jr. plus Nikola Jovic plus Tyler Hero package combos that just kept getting rejected. Sleepy Pat once again, literally taking naps on that.
I will walk off this set right now. You guys, that Pat Riley slander continues.
Yeah, play the Godfather theme music.
He doesn't even put on a tie anymore when he goes to work.
No, man, you gotta.
Damn Pat Riley.
And so with him going to Milwaukee, it was like Milwaukee, like there was all this excitement about, are they going to be the ones that come out of the East, or is Boston? And by the end of the season, not only did they have the whole Adrian Griffin, thing, and Terry Stotts, even at the start of the season, assistant coach, like him getting let go and under weird circumstances. Then Adrian Griffin getting let go under weird circumstances. Then it being Doc Rivers who took over.
That's right, Bill.
It just masked the whole thing. Doc Rivers went from Bill Simmons' pod to ESPN and then to the Bucks head coaching job, which was strange. But then I think for me, it's like, at the crux of all that, it just didn't click. Dame and Giannis didn't click. And you could put all those other things together. Those two have to click at a high level. Like, those two have to play at an elite level. And Dame went from, like, a career year in Portland. Like, the year before that, he was averaging, like, pretty much 30 a game. And then he went down to, like, 24. It's not even about the points per game. He just wasn't the same guy.
Guy went from playoff Jamal Murray to regular season 0-time All-Star Jamal Murray.
No, he legit went, like, he just wasn't Dame anymore. And I don't know. Like, I think at some point, the fall off will happen. He is 34 now, which is around that age. But at the same time, like it's just there's got to be a little bit more in there for Milwaukee to be even considered a championship. Like I haven't heard a single person mention like, hey, Milwaukee, like what about them as a championship contender? Like they're just forgotten about. I feel like the Knicks surpassed them. I feel like the Sixers surpassed them. They're almost just gone, and that shouldn't be the case if Dame plays anywhere close to what we've seen Dame play in the past.
Yeah, and I think what was so jarring about the way Dame played last year is it's not like this was a slow decline over the years where it's like, okay, offense first guard, not big guard, aging, not graceful. Like that happens, but
this isn't Russ.
Right.
Yeah.
This was Dame the year before having one of the greatest offensive seasons.
He averaged 32 a game. I can't believe it. Wow.
Dame at his best only a couple years ago was still one of the greatest offensive players we've ever seen, literally. So to be what he was last year was really jarring. Now I know there was, the personal stuff going off the court too. Hopefully all that's behind him. But on paper, Dame and Giannis is as good a duo as it gets in the NBA, right? If you just consider what Dame is at his best. But like you said, they need those guys and that partnership to click. And for whatever reason, it didn't last year. And you can't blame that on off the court stuff, the coaching stuff. At some point, those two guys are both vets, an MVP, two Hall of Famers that should have been able to figure out, given how great their skill sets mesh together. The fact that they couldn't figure it out over the course of 6 to 8 months, that was ridiculous. And if that's the case again this year, I know I already mentioned the thing with Jokic, but at least with Jokic, when I was talking about the Nuggets, I was just talking about their championship window.
Yeah.
I wasn't talking about Jokic being gone. In Milwaukee, if Dame doesn't live up to the billing this year, if it seems like he's continuing to decline, there's not a lot of options for Milwaukee, a very creaky, aging core. Giannis will get restless. There is a lot riding on Damian Lillard being something close to the Damian Lillard of old. Because if he's the Damian Lillard of last year, which is meh, the Bucks, like you said, are not in the championship picture. They're kind of a forgotten team in the East. And that's going to set off some major alarm bells in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think, my theory for Dame making a comeback season is like, you referenced this too. Like he was going through a divorce last year. And that first year after a divorce is really difficult. It's hard to show up to work and focus all the time, get to know a new coworkers, get settled into a new place. Like he had to move from Portland to Milwaukee. And there was all this talk like he didn't even like work out last season because he was waiting for a trade. Damn. So I think year 2 he's gonna get some clarity. He's gonna bounce back. And I think too last year like Dame seemed like there was a lot of talk during the season of just like Dame and Giannis trying to like be nice to each other, like let each other like kind of take over and stuff. Almost feel like the personalities need to change a little bit in terms of like Dame needs to just kind of take over at times and just like be that guy. And it's interesting thinking about Dame, like you mentioned, he's like 34 now. I know he's got these all-time playoff buzzer beaters in the first round, and he's like been super clutch in the playoffs, but it's like, no, but it's like how, I don't know, I feel like this is pretty important for Dame to come to this team. It's the best player that he's ever played with, like to actually make a run with a legitimate team, because like none of those Portland teams were ever going to threaten for a championship.
Right. So, this is a top 75 player we're talking about.
No, but like,
I'm just saying.
When you start thinking about it, man, like I was alluding to earlier, like mid-30s, small guard that doesn't or can't play defense. If you look historically, those guys don't sustain like superstar production.
It worries me.
Much longer than he already has. So maybe last year was the start of that decline.
No, Milwaukee went all in for this, so they better get all in type of production. Otherwise, I don't believe in Milwaukee, to be clear. But as
a city, like as
are we talking just as a concept?
Like
a lot too much cheese and bratwurst there for me. Like it's a little awkward, but no, I feel like they're just way too old. Like collectively, like Chris Middleton, like just making the max while like playing like just never. Yeah. And then when he plays, he's good, but then he just doesn't play.
But if Giannis and Dame are clicking the way we think they can click, then they're right. Click. They're right there. They're right back right there, man.
All right, Cash, who you got for round 3?
All right, I'm going with my guy Jimmy Buckets.
Oh man, we gotta give 5 minutes to Jimmy.
No, listen.
Come on.
This is
finally taking the regular season.
You want to talk about a team? You want to talk about
a
team whose window is just about closed. It's this Miami
took a normal
team.
media day for
They don't got a window, bro. The Miami Heat been climbing in through vents.
Learn how to play Mahjong this summer.
But listen, Jimmy hasn't won one, and this iteration of the team has made the finals twice, but hasn't won one. No, made the finals twice? Yeah, twice. Made the finals twice. Hasn't won one.
Bubble and real life.
And, this is an older team, with Jimmy especially at the head of the snake. This is an older team. This is also a guy who has a $52.4 million player option next season that everyone knows assumes he's going to decline, who is going to test free agency, who wanted an extension this summer from Miami, didn't get it, who wants a max contract, who will, he is 35 years old. When he wants a max contract next season, it'll be starting at age 36. Like a lot of teams are not going to want to give him that. There are a lot of miles on his odometer, and say what you will about him maybe cruising through the regular season, based on the way he's played in the postseason and how many deep runs he's gone on, those are some hard miles that he's got in his body in his mid-30s now. We've seen how a disgruntled Jimmy Butler can torpedo a team from the inside and some of the shenanigans. And listen, I've been on record before saying a lot of the stuff he did in Minnesota and Chicago, like he was right about the things he complained about and why he wanted out. Sorry, Kat. But
super biased take, but
I'm a Jimmy guy. But no, we've seen the havoc he can wreak before when he's disgruntled.
For sure.
We're about to find out after them not giving him the extension in a contract year, just how perfect this supposedly perfect marriage is, because everyone knows that it fits. Like the concept of Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley, Jimmy Butler and Heat culture goes together, right? But let's see now in a year when shit might hit the fan. He wants money. He wants a contract. The Heat have to protect their future. If the Heat stumble out of the gate, if Jimmy Butler, for whatever reason, doesn't seem like he's taking the regular season as seriously as you'd imagine someone in his position should, he could find himself on the trade block. And if that's the case, because this will be a very different situation for him. This isn't him wanting out. This is maybe the team looking at it and being like, we're not ready to commit our future to this guy at his age. And I just think it's not so much that the Heat are one of the more important teams this year, but Jimmy Butler and his immediate future is a very important thing in the league. Because you talk about guys who can swing the NBA this season and swing the title race. What if Jimmy Butler ends up on the trade block this year?
Yeah. You know what this reminds me of? In a weird way, it's a little similar to Paul George with the Clippers last season. he wanted to stay. His number one option was to stay in LA. Like he doesn't want to leave LA. Like that's where he envisioned the rest of his career when he obviously signed there with Kawhi. And then, they just never had the money for him. And then eventually it creates this awkward scenario where it's like, are you going to take less? Are you going to accept that you are a max level player, but you're going to get paid less than that in the place you want to stay? Or are you going to go look for newer pastures somewhere else? I feel bad for Jimmy, man. I feel like he's done so much for Miami. Like, I feel like, I know you don't pay guys off of legacy. You don't pay guys off of what they did for you. You're going to pay them off of what you think they're going to keep doing for you. But I would just retain, like, what is Miami doing if they don't even get Jimmy?
Can you have that same attitude in a second apron world though? And with like the new aprons and like how, listen, Miami.
Everybody moving so shook about the second apron. Why did the players accept the second apron?
No, I agree with you. Why,
Garrett Temple?
And I've said before that, like, a lot of owners are going to use it as an excuse to just not spend as much. It's like, wow, look at the constraints.
Minnesota just broke their team up. Yeah,
exactly.
But we know Minnesota's broke though.
Right.
We know Minnesota's broke. This is different.
The Heat have to look at that. Like, they have to consider that. And, Bam is their future.
Yeah.
And I'm not the biggest Bam guy. Like, I like Bam. I think he's a great player.
Yeah.
I don't think he's as good as Miami thinks he is.
Okay.
But he is their future somewhat. And are you going to be maxing out Jimmy Butler or coming close to it again for like his age 36 to 38?
I don't think they will because of that, the second apron, Jimmy's age, and also because like I don't think the team is that good. I don't think you can pay Jimmy that money. Like for all the things we joke about, like Sleepy Pat, like Pat Riley always has other plans up his sleeve. Like they've always been able to. I mean, LeBron's obviously the biggest move that they made, but it's like they always have superstars that they're able to bring in, and you never know who's going to become available in like a year, 2 years time. And Miami's always going to be in the running for that stuff, and they always keep themselves ready for that stuff. So my biggest thing with Jimmy is just, if you guys are going to try harder during the regular season, like how good are you guys actually going to be though? Like even with Jimmy playing 82 games, whatever it may be, I'm just not impressed by that team and that roster.
You don't like Terry Rozier?
Yeah.
You don't like Jamal
Sleepy Pat trade.
Terry Rozier's the rich man's Alec Burks.
Oh man! But imagine if the Heat get the 8th seed, get through the play-in, face the Knicks in the first round.
Yo,
get to Game 7.
Yo,
Jimmy at the Garden dunks over Cat.
Dude, and first of all, Jimmy versus Cat, but also the never-ending Pat Riley versus New York thing.
That's right. That's my number one series I want to watch now. Yeah,
here's the thing. Like also, Sixers Knicks and Embiid Cat. We know their history. They had a fight, full-on fight once. But back to Pat Riley. Listen. The thing Pat Riley cares about more than anything
Bring out your
are
script,
these. And I'm not talking about marriage. I'm talking about rings, baby. Championship rings.
This guy got married and now he wants to talk about his rings.
If Pat Riley believed...
Sonic the Hedgehog is here.
If Pat Riley believed that this team could win a championship and all he had to do is keep Jimmy Butler happy, he would have overpaid for Jimmy Butler already. The fact that he doesn't, to Alex's point to me, is... Pat Riley, call him Sleepy Pat, whatever. He knows that it is not a worthwhile investment because this team's not winning a title. So why go all in and dip into the second apron and all those things for a team that can't win when, like Alex said, you're Miami. You're always going to have a leg up in free agency. It's always going to be between you and LA for guys if you have cap space. Don't take up that cap space for the foreseeable future to lock in a play-in team that just ends up being everyone's favorite playoff pick, but they have to win. They have to win 43 games first to do it.
I mean, by the way, this is also a team that if they're so afraid of the second apron, they almost traded for Dame. They were gonna pay all three of those guys.
No, but if they had got Dame last year, again, that team could have won a championship.
All right.
Dame, Jimmy, and Bam could have won a championship.
That trade should have just happened,
bro. Honestly, Dame's going through this divorce. He's like, Miami seems like a great place to be while freshly divorced.
Yeah.
And then he gets moved to Milwaukee
he famously said in his own words last season that he did not enjoy Milwaukee.
He was
just like Milwaukee was not a good place.
I was looking forward to being single in Miami.
Dame as big a fan of cheese and bratwurst as Will is, apparently.
He's like, I'm lactose intolerant, man. I'm not trying to be here. All right, Alex, who you got for round 3? We got to speed this up too, by the way. Let's go. We got so many more rounds.
Let's go. Next up, I got Anthony Edwards. I just think, and obviously took a leap last year. Teams changed a little bit with the Cat trade. I'm just curious to see whether Ant is able to kind of vault himself into that, top 5 conversation of if you know how people are like, if you got Luka on your team, that's a 50-win team. If you got Jokic, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you got 0-time All-Stars around him. That's going to be a great team. Is Ant that guy? Because there's been like, the roster has changed, like I mentioned, but I want to see if he makes a leap this year. And it seems like he's so primed to be like the next guy, like you mentioned, like who's going to be these next superstars, to be that guy. Like he's got the personality, the charisma and stuff. I'm very curious to see if Ant kind of just takes it to that next level this season.
Yeah, you can't really argue with that, to be honest. I mean, like, do you have anything, Cash?
I think Ant's going to be one of the most important players, defining NBA seasons for the foreseeable future. And I do think post-Cat trade, obviously even more is riding on him.
Yeah. All right, we're just going to move past
All right, let's go. Round 4.
Round 4. I didn't know we would speed up that much, but I had nothing to argue against Cat. Or against Ant. All right, round 4, I'm going to take... I know you already got Paul George for this, but it's really Joel Embiid, man. I think Embiid sliding to round 4 already for most important guys who will define the season. Sleepy Joel. Is already way too far for this. So, as you mentioned, Embiid has already gone on record and said, I'm probably not going to play back-to-backs for the rest of my career. I invented that, by the way. oh, man. We'll see if you show up on back-to-back shows. There's also the fact that he is now 30. Is he going to be healthy and clutch? Those are the two things that we have yet to fully see from him in a playoff setting. Even the regular season, even he said, like, look, I'm going to prioritize, being healthy. And so we'll probably expect him to play less than 60 games this year as he continues to sort of like, chase that goal. They've already said his weight is down too. Maybe again, that's going to get him fresh and healthy. He's apparently on the same diet as Tim Duncan was, like towards the end of his career. He's on the same training regimen. Yeah.
I like how Tim Duncan went on that diet at the end of a championship-laden career where he always peaked in April to June. And Joel Embiid, they also have very different body types. Can we start calling Joel a 0-time NBA champion? Zero-time conference finalist, Joel Embiid.
Well, it's a good thing we mentioned that because Embiid, once again, shouts to Basketball Reference, 5-6 all time in playoff series. Yeah,
I got some good stuff
for a guy who is an MVP. Like it's one thing for Paul George to be 8-11. Joel Embiid's an MVP and he's 5-6, right? Mm-hmm. In 8 of those 11 playoff series that he's played as a center, who obviously we know how dominant he can be, his field percentage is less than 47%. In 8 of those 11 series, famously throwing teammates under the bus after not wanting the ball in big situations, everything. Everything. You know what I mean? So I think for Embiid, like last year in the playoffs, I know he was dealing with injuries as always. You can always throw that caveat on there. He shot 44% from the field last playoffs. That's including a 50-point game. How in a 7-game series do you have a 50 ball and you still shoot 44% from the field? There were multiple games where he didn't even get double digit in terms of field goal, like made field goal shots. And it was like Maxey, I watched that series so closely, and it felt like in those important moments, Maxey was the guy who was I wouldn't say it's Maxey's team. Like Embiid's clearly the best player, and he has such a big impact defensively too. But again, there's just so much riding on him. Like he's on a clock too as well. He's got no excuses. No one wants to hear anything else other than Joel Embiid has actually gone out there and done it. It's a make or break for his whole career, really, this season.
Yeah, arguably the next 2 seasons or the big 3 is together, but for sure this year, because he is running out of time as a giant human at 30 years old with all the knee and foot injuries in his rear view. Well, you mentioned the playoff numbers. I'll go even more specific and talk about his elimination game numbers. So not closeout games, not when they have a chance to win, when the Sixers have faced elimination with Joel Embiid in the lineup. And I update this every year, and Joe Wolfon loves when I reference this every year. Shout out Joe Wolfon, RIP Pound the Rock. Joel Embiid, when facing elimination, 4-7 record, 39.7% from the field, 26% from deep, 30 assists to 55 turnovers. Joel Embiid in elimination games is an absolute pumpkin. Okay, like this guy, for an MVP caliber superstar, for a guy as skilled and big and dominant as he is, to shrink from the spotlight the way he does every damn year. And the excuses are always he's never healthy in the playoffs. Okay, but even if that's not your fault, at some point that becomes an indictment of your career too. And look at this year. We're talking about the comments he made of not wanting to play back-to-backs, the fact he got shut down the entire preseason because of the knee issue. This is October. Right? Like, we're talking about them trying to just get to the conference finals for the first time in his career. Now with Paul George trying to win a title, that's June. He's never played until late May. Now we're supposed to believe this is the year he's finally going to be able to stay fresh and healthy till then, when we're not even sure he's healthy before the season has started. So there's a lot of question marks. I agree with you that he has to be in this conversation because there is so much riding For him, for his legacy, for the Sixers era, like Joel Embiid era, it all comes down to these next couple of years, and it starts with this year. Man, the takes will be wild if this team doesn't get it done because of an Embiid injury or an Embiid playoff choke show.
I'm here for it.
Yeah,
we will all be here.
I don't think they're going to get it done, man. I feel like it's going to be the same story.
Because I think the best case scenario for Embiid is obviously they win, and then all of a sudden his career is looked at like kind of the way Dirk's career was looked at. Like Dirk also had won the MVP, but had come up short in the playoffs. And I would say his failures in the playoffs with Dirk weren't even injury related. Sometimes they were just straight up getting upset by the We Believe Warriors, for example, 1-8, right? And there was that feeling around Dirk. The issue is Dirk never had the teammates that Embiid has right now. As much as, all due respect to Jason Terry tattooing the Larry Bryan on his body and then going on to win it, which is one of the coolest things that I guess a role player's ever done. Or like, Jason Kidd in his older years, or Tyson Chandler. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not the same, man. Like you have Maxey, who is like, would you say Maxey's a top 5 point guard?
Top 5?
He's getting to that range where you can argue.
He's like in the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's becoming that.
Sure,
would you rather have Maxey or Dame?
No, also right now Maxey. I'd take Maxey.
Dame, divorce year 2, I'll take Dame.
this man is
divorce year 1, Maxey.
This man rooting for Dame for other reasons.
No, but I get what
basketball.
you mean. He's got way better teammates. My thing with Embiid, my expectations are so low. Even if the Sixers get bounced in the second round again, let's say they go 7 games with Boston or something. If Embiid just has a monster playoff series for himself personally and doesn't like shit the bed again in these elimination games, that's good enough for me. Because I don't even know if this team's good enough to get
lowered
through.
Expectations.
No, but it's not about
doing?
that. It's just like I just don't believe in Embiid at this point, where it's like I just want to see one playoff series where you walk out of there as the unequivocal best player in that series, and you gave it your all, you dominated, you were healthy. That's almost good enough for me at this point for Embiid.
Wow.
And even like you made the Dirk comparison. The thing with Dirk is, he had that. The We Believe Warriors upset was the biggest, one, and he had some other playoff no-shows, but like Dirk wasn't consistently bad in the playoffs when the Mavs weren't winning. And Dirk, for as great as he is and was, and the fact he was an MVP too, Dirk never had a single season as dominant as like Embiid's last 3 to 4 years.
Dude, last season Embiid literally scored more points than he played minutes.
That's what I'm saying. So like, okay, Dirk had some playoff disappointments, but he didn't have as many playoff disappointments as Joel Embiid. The question with Dirk was never like, will he still be standing come April? And also the discrepancy between regular season performance and playoff performance was never as steep a fall off for Dirk as it is for Joel Embiid. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think for Embiid too, it's like you got to look at which teams have knocked him off. It's like, okay, you can't blame him for losing to the 2019 Raptors. You know what I mean? Like that's the eventual champions. But I can't blame you for losing to the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah. You lost to the Knicks. Like, this is the Knicks before all these trades. And you know what I mean? Like, come on, man.
Again, it's not just the result. Like, you can't blame him for losing to the 2019 Raptors, but you can blame him for his performance in that series. And Marc Gasol was his kryptonite. He had flu-like symptoms, like all this stuff. Sure. But at a certain point, like, the NBA more than any other league historically is built around tier 1 superstars because it is the sport in which one player can make the most difference. The ball's always in their hands. They can play 40 to 45 out of 48 minutes.
Yep.
Play both ends of the court. So things are expected of you when you're one of those guys. And maybe it's not always fair and you take too much of the crap when you lose, but you get most of the glory when you win. Like Joel Embiid is one of those guys. Yeah. Perennial MVP candidate, one of the most talented and dominant big men of all time. So we do hold him to a higher standard. And the fact that there is always an excuse doesn't fly with me. Mm-hmm. And that Raptors series is a perfect example. I can't hold it.
He shot 37% from the field.
This is what I'm saying.
I don't want to hear about his plus minus.
Right.
Like,
on
court, they were so good. I'm like, because his bench was fucking Greg Monroe.
Right. And again, but he's Joel Embiid. They should be that good when he's on the court. Like, he choked in that series. Yeah. He played like ass.
Terrible.
And Marc Gasol deserves credit for it. And maybe Joel Embiid wasn't physically right. And if that was a one-time thing, I could look back on it and say, you know what, throw that series out the window. Yeah. But when that is the pattern and what we have come to expect from him every playoffs, sorry, you don't get any mulligans or excuses.
I've seen Al Horford son this man in the playoffs. I've seen Isaiah Hartenstein do that to him in the playoffs. There was a series where Clint Capella and John Collins, too much for Joel Embiid.
That's like,
John Collins.
You know what I mean? Like Onyeka Okongwu coming off that bench as like a sophomore.
Kevin Herter was more clutch than Embiid.
I'm just saying, like, it just how is it possible that 5 teams in the Eastern Conference have eliminated Philadelphia this year, or in the playoffs traditionally with Embiid? You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of funny. That's all. So anyway, your fourth most important guy, Cash.
Okay, you know what? Let's go Ja Morant. Healthy and hopefully gun-free, at least on social media.
Okay.
Brother.
Ja drives regular season wins as well as almost anybody in the league since he came into the league. And the Ja and Taylor Jenkins, coach, like that combo in Memphis, if you look at that era,
That's a crazy combo.
No, it is, but I'm serious. If you look at the era, like the Ja Morant as their guy and Taylor Jenkins as their coach, they have almost always outperformed expectations. Gotten more from their the sum of their parts in the roster than they should have. Other than last year, but last year Ja didn't play that. Their entire lineup was what they used 33 players or something. And now they have their best team they've had when healthy.
Right.
So to me, like if Ja's healthy and back to just playing basketball.
Right.
The Grizzlies are like a low-key contender. Like they can be a force in the West and go on a deep run. But if Ja's not in the lineup or other things come into play, they're a lottery team again. Like there is a huge discrepancy between what the Grizzlies are and aren't with Ja Morant, and I think for that reason he's a big factor in what unfolds, especially in the Western Conference this year.
I mean, this is entirely self-inflicted for Ja. Outside the injuries, entirely self-inflicted for Ja. But the Grizzlies were where the Timberwolves were. That was their whole thing. They're coming up. They're young. They're going to challenge this young guy leading the charge. Is going to be the face of this league. We heard that so much with Ja, and then he pulled out the blicky. So it just
twice, three times,
man. And if you saw those reports about how there was like a laser beam pointed at the Pacers, bro, why are you pointing guns at the Pacers? Even if they weren't real guns or whatever, it's the Pacers, man. How could you be so mad at the Indiana Pacers? But yeah, I mean, he's got to come back, get the spot back, basically. And I think that he's got the talent to do it, but I don't know. I guess no one trusts Ja based on what he's done so far, but you can earn your trust back. That's
Cash is right though. If everything goes right for the Grizzlies, they're right back there. Super talented team. All right, my pick for round 4, my guy Kawhi Leonard.
What?
So my question with Kawhi is he still going to be an important guy? What? Surprisingly, just 33 years old.
What year is this, man?
Somehow signed a 3-year, $150 million extension. Shout out to Steve Ballmer for giving him that. He's already not healthy for the preseason. I believe not even showing up to practice these days, and has talked about how he's never going to be healthy again. I put him on this list just because I wonder if the Clippers at some point are going to just make a trade, and can we get Kawhi to a team? The team that I'm thinking about, I might have stolen this from Michael Pina, who I talked to in New York earlier this week, to the Spurs. Can we get Kawhi to a team where he can be important again, where he can play a role in this latter part of his career? I think he's another Joel Embiid where you have to train him. No.
You mean just from an injury perspective?
From an injury perspective, at this point in his career, you got to train him to get him to April, where he's even available for one series.
You got to train Kawhi's knee to get to November, baby. This guy's got the cold air starts blowing in, and he's feeling it.
Anyways,
in my
I'm still rooting for Kawhi, so I'm putting him on this list.
You my dog, you know that. But if you ever put a 2-time Finals MVP winner
with a 0-time conference finalist,
Alex got that dog in him.
That's crazy.
All right, let's go round 5. Let's do a one-liner for these. Okay,
round 5.
Draft. Everybody give a one-liner about.
I'm gonna go off the board and take Zion.
Okay,
and the reason for that is Zion. Are you a superstar or not a superstar? Because year 2 Zion was fucking fantastic.
Yep,
he was 27 a game, shooting 61% from the field. As a Raptor fan, I always looked at it as if you can cook OG. You're really real in my mind. And there were multiple games in that season where he was cooking OG. Now, of course, Zion, his career has gone off the rails a little bit. That whole him and Ja coming in, the whole draft class, what's going on with the class right now? You're letting it down, but I still believe in the talent. You are too good of a player to just be a regular all-star-ish player.
Yeah, and
too talented for that.
His performance in that playing game before he got hurt was insane. That was the player.
Yeah. But then with Zion, he just doesn't sustain it. This guy got no endurance.
Yeah. Cash, who's your round 5 pick?
All right, we got to go Klay Thompson. Finally out of his Klay. Splash Brothers shadow. This is a good landing spot for him
Richmond.
At this stage of his career. Wow. He's going to get plenty of looks, obviously, and great looks with Luka and Kyrie and that driving kick game in Dallas. But also, even at this stage of his career, his shooting and his movement and all that can also really open things up for those guys and diversify Dallas's offense a little bit, make it a little more dynamic. I just think it's a great landing spot for him.
I agree.
But if he's washed, which might just be the case, then, that's Dallas's prized offseason acquisition. I mean, I love the Najee Marshall acquisition, but come on,
come on, man. Don't
Dallas can fall off very quickly if Clay isn't who they think he is.
I'm not high on Dallas all this season.
But if he is, even just a shell of what he was at his best, it's huge for a team that already just made the finals.
I know it's just preseason, but does it concern you that he went 3 for 28?
Yes. Because
in 3 games?
It does. Because if the last,
this is not going to go
what
well.
we saw from him late last season, again, this is a guy with a lot of injuries and I'm not going to pretend to know exactly how, injuries could affect a pure shooter as he ages, but I don't know. Maybe it's the lift he gets. Maybe whatever it is, he isn't the same guy. Okay. And again, that's fine. He doesn't have to be like 37 points in a quarter, Klay Thompson, but he's got to be more than what he was last year and something closer to that. And again, I think Luka and Kyrie can help him unlock that. But if he's not,
it's another one that looks good on paper, but it's like we got to see how it plays out. They better hope Derek Lively turns into Tim Duncan. Lively's getting crazy hype too, man.
He's pretty good, but let's be honest.
We got to calm down on that stuff.
Is he going to average 15 points? Probably not. So anyway, last pick. Most important guy. Before, we're going to take a break, but then we're going to go with two bonus rounds. One wild card and one non-athlete, non-player, I guess. I mean, this person can be athletic.
Athlete is crazy.
They're athletic, but they're not a basketball.
All right, we'll just wrap this up. I'm just going to take Scotty Barnes for the Toronto content.
Nice.
I just think Scotty coming into year 4, just, the whole future of the Raptors is riding on him becoming a superstar player and becoming that guy. And I think of everyone from that draft class, he is, you would agree, he's already the best player from that class right now, right?
Only one to make an all-star game.
Yeah, he's the best one right now, but it's like, is he going to take that leap? And I think that'll change the whole trajectory for the Raptors if he does. If he does it, then the Raptors are in huge trouble.
No, you saw, look, again, this is just preseason, but you even saw that game when they beat the Celtics earlier this week. It's like when Scotty plays at that level, it carries the whole franchise up. So in terms of who is most important to their franchise relative to that, Scotty could be literally like a top 5 pick in this draft. In terms of who's most important to their organization, not to the league as a whole this season. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, we really took OG first. Anyways, we'll take a break right now. You're listening to Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway.
So, Alex, I know you wrote the whole book, Prehistoric, in stores now, on the Raptors' first ever season. But did you know that our friends, Coors Light, have actually been sponsoring the team's official beer partner, since their inaugural season as they head into, obviously, the 30th anniversary here?
Yeah, I know all that because I've been following the Raptors and I've been following Coors Light since day one.
Oh.
So, while players, coaches, the team's changed a lot over the 3 decades, one thing that hasn't changed is the unwavering support of the Raptors fans. And that's why Coors Light has plans to celebrate that fandom this season. And being the insider that I am, I heard there's going to be a super fun collaboration that is going to start next Monday. So everyone should bookmark ERA in everycan.com. That's ERA in everycan.com so you don't miss a single thing. Remember, you must be 19 plus and celebrate responsibly.
Can't wait to see what this is. Welcome back. We are still here at Hardo Productions here at Patois. Big shouts to Patois for having us. Obviously, if you want, honestly, just some of the best food in the city, you got to come down to Patois. I know unnamed members of Unnamed Raptors organization people love coming here as well. And
ooh, you can't name one?
You can't name them, man. Come on, dog.
It's not Bobby Webster?
It's it may or may not be Bobby Webster. Okay, fine, whatever. But come for the food, not for a slim chance.
Come for the patties, come for the brunch,
shouts
everything.
To June Plum as
dinner,
well.
Great drinks menu, everything. We're still joined by Joseph Casciaro of theScore's Unfiltered Show. Make sure you check out theScore's YouTube page for the Unfiltered Show, the Unfiltered series, and just great sports video content there.
Absolutely, man.
Appreciate you guys.
I love you, bro.
Will, do you have your passport on the table right now?
It's a notebook. As every writer must have one. Yeah.
Just use Notes app.
We are continuing to draft our most important guys of the season.
OG Anunoby.
The Migs. Yeah, I can't believe you took OG number 1. OG was not on my board, like not even the top 50 on
Send
my board.
that to Clutch.
Yeah, so, well, he's not even Clutch anymore. He's CAA.
He moved?
Yeah.
He's a Knick now.
How do you think he got to the Knicks?
All right, let me replace my pick with Jalen Green.
We are continuing to draft our most important guys of the season. So for the next 2 picks and the last 2 picks, we are going to go with a wild card, which honestly could have been OG, but maybe you want to go a little wilder than that. And then we are going to go with somebody who is not a player.
Non-athlete.
So it could just be anybody, I suppose, that's not one of the 450.
Could be a ball boy, could be a security guy, could be a GM, anybody.
The way you draft it could be a ball boy, for real. Okay, first round. Once again, I'm going to take the first pick. So happy to have this because Bronny is definitely going to be my guy here.
Oh, Bronny does
Bronny
great on YouTube.
Yeah. Bronny.
Real wild card.
Listen, Bronny is going to get so many segments dedicated to him. Yeah, Bronny's going to get so much airtime. I'm hoping for Bronny's sake that he is not a prop for the season.
It's already moving that way. But
you know what I mean? Like I know that he has a lot of progress to make as a player. He needs to get there. You know, right now he's not a rotation player, not even close, especially for a team like the Lakers that have, playoff aspirations. But for Bronny, you're going to hear about him like more than any other player that's going to play. Like, how many minutes do you think Bronny's going to play this year? Like, you think he's going to play 40 games?
With the big league team?
No.
Yeah.
No way.
I'll take the under on that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's going to be the most covered 15th man that you've ever
40
seen.
Minutes.
You play 40 minutes, man. Come on, bro.
You calling him Bronathis Antetokounmpo.
To be clear, Thanasis is actually way better than Bronny is right now.
And a free agent.
Also a free agent of a family member. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to pick Bronny as my wild card. I just feel like, he's kind of set up to basically be like, a huge storyline and yet not on the court itself. So,
okay.
Wild card.
That's a good pick. So my original wild card pick wasn't that wild. It was going to be Zach LaVine. Because the Bulls aren't important. They might be tanking.
Somebody saw last night's game.
No one wants Zach LaVine, right? With 3 years and $138 million left in his deal. But if Zach LaVine can just play his way, he doesn't have to play his way into being worth that deal. But if he can play his way into just being like attractive enough to rival teams, this is still a guy who, like, with the offensive skills, if he can stay even relatively healthy, he can still really help. But anyway, that's a really long-winded way of saying that was going to be my answer.
Right.
Because we wanted a wild card.
Once again, Zach LaVine not wanted.
Not even wanted on my wild card. So even though I know the rules were that both one wild card is supposed to be a player, then one non-player, I'm going to do a non-player both.
You can't stop this guy. He's freshly married.
So my wild card, and it kind of picks up on the Kawhi Leonard conversation earlier, is a guy that I just Googled this morning. Jason Powell, Director of Medical Services and Head Athletic Trainer for the Los Angeles Clippers. One of my wild card most important guys to define
Pacific Mall Alex McKechnie
2025 NBA season. Because what in the holy hell is going on with Kawhi Leonard's knee? Like, few months ago, 3 months ago, August, September, 3 months ago, Lawrence Frank and the Clippers organization were alluding to the fact that it was unfair Kawhi Leonard didn't get to prove himself with Team USA and that they sent him home early and like whatever. But then 3 months later, that knee is also not healthy enough for him to even practice 5-on-5 yet. Like, there is some sort of inconsistency, lack of communication, whatever you want to say there, with Kawhi's knee between player and team and public, whatever. This is one of the most fascinating stories still in the NBA, even though I don't think the Clippers, even with a healthy Kawhi, are contenders anymore. But without him, they're like a 13th place team who might be bad enough to hand the Thunder a very high pick. So not in the championship conversation, but in terms of just like, one of the great players of his generation, and we don't really know what's going on. Plus, potentially helping a in-the-moment contender in OKC. Whatever the hell's going on with Kawhi's knee is one of the most important things this season. And Jason Powell, you're on the clock, buddy. I don't think this is your fault. You probably have nothing to do, but I don't know who else to go with for a wild card. Should I just give it to Kawhi's knee?
This guy's the most important pal on the Clippers.
That's not Norman, but
this
Jason.
guy understands the grind. This guy understands the grind.
You better understand the degenerative knee disease.
You better understand the grinding of bone on bone in Kawhi's
degenerative X right now.
I'm going to give him doctor. I'm assuming he's a doctor. I'm assuming MD, Jason Powell, MD.
I mean,
he better be an MD.
Why did the Clippers do these three things of signing Kawhi Kawhi to an extension,
Yeah.
letting PG go, but then also signing James Harden.
Because they're a clown show. And, Clippers, what I learned this summer in being very critical of their decision making was that Clippers fans are some of the most easily, for the 17 that exist, are some of the most easily triggered.
Clipper Daryl.
Like super defensive.
Yeah.
I don't know what, maybe it's the inferiority complex. I don't know what's going on there, but
their relevance.
they just couldn't deal with the fact that their team made ass decisions, half measures. And then, even with like I said, even with the Kawhi stuff, it's like they're going to reap what they sowed, and it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my little Clippers rant.
I know who you're talking about. It's all good. Let's go, baby. Round 6. Wild card, Alex Wong. You're gonna go super wild with this one, man. I already see who you're gonna take with this one.
I'm taking honorable mentions to Guerschon Yabusele. I was gonna take him because I think it's super cool if like he comes back, can be a good role player. That like guys who like flame out after getting drafted, go overseas, can kind of make a comeback.
The Anthony Parker of this generation.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I was gonna shout out. I was honorable mention to Zach Edey as well. I think he's gonna be super interesting.
Sure.
But I'm going with my guy Jacky Cui
How, Sway?
the Brooklyn Nets. We already saw him preseason, hit a couple of threes in a 40-point blowout against the Wizards. Showed up. How would you describe his post-game outfit?
How would you describe his post-game outfit?
They were calling it a Chinese suit, which I don't think is correct.
I mean, kind of.
Okay,
it's like we have a different cut. I think they're called Mandarin blouses or whatever. Mandarin blouses.
Mandarin blouses.
I'm going to plead the fifth on this.
We got an honorable Asian here.
I was going to say,
Cash came in today. He was like, yo, anybody got pork buns?
No, that's not what actually happened. That is not what actually happened.
What do you think
Alex
this
was
was,
eating
man?
something that resembled a pork bun. It turned out not to be.
It
But
was
I
a
didn't
chocolate croissant.
I
guys.
didn't just come in here asking that. That would
They
be
got
real
patties
wild.
at June Plum, all right? They got Jamaican patties at June Plum.
Patties
I'm gonna-
Mills.
Meat,
I'm
pork
gonna-
bows.
Anyways, I picked Jacky Cui
Okay,
because
Jacky,
it's we saw him in summer league when he was at Portland, and I think it's been a long time since we've had a really good kind of Asian sensation player. That's why Zach Edey I would have put in this category as well. But Jacky, I mean, Edey's like National Player of the Year. He's very
everyone knows
accomplished.
about him.
I think Jacky is going to, if he can make the team, if he can have a little kind of, fan base with him and stuff, it'd just be something.
He's going to have a huge fan
It'd be
base. Are you
something
kidding
that
me?
we can get excited about because I can count on one hand the number of Chinese players we've gotten excited about.
Go ahead. Name them off, bro. Name them off.
Yao.
Yeah.
Wang Shishi.
Yeah.
Yi.
Yeah.
Jeremy Lin.
Okay.
Utah. No, he's not even Chinese.
yeah.
I think that's it.
That's
Is that
four.
it? Who was the guy? Joe Chi on the Rockets. He didn't really do much.
Yeah, he didn't do much, but we saw him.
So
Sun Yue.
Joe Tsai, one of the seven
Joe
most
Tsai.
valuable Asians in NBA history.
The owner of Jacky Cui.
Wow. But
That's crazy.
to your
You
point
don't
about
call
him
them
making the
owners
team,
of the players.
It's the Nets, all right? It's the Nets. So
Yes.
you guys could make the team. So I think Jacky makes it.
Jacky Cui and Cam Thomas. That's going to be the Rush Hour 2 combination.
Jacky, if you don't make
season.
the Nets, you're not making the NBA. So
Yeah, straight up.
you need to make the Nets right now.
So that is round 6, and then final round.
Yes.
As you've mentioned, Will, this is the non-player round.
That's
Anything
right.
goes. Who is your most important non-player?
There's so many good picks I had here, but for some reason, this person popped into my mind because I missed this person. It's Zach Lowe.
Zach Lowe.
Zach Lowe,
The
free
glazing.
agent Zach Lowe. Okay. Where is Zach going to land? No, I honestly miss Zach. It's actually kind of crazy that when I started doing this, and this is 10 years ago now, I was looking at in terms of what am I listening to? What am I reading? What do I like? And there was so much of was in Basketball Jones at the time. I feel like that's been a heavy influence, even in how I do our show, to this day. And who I was reading was Zach Lowe. Who do you think I stole 10 things off of, man? It was Zach Lowe. And I was I think for Zach, he was such an inspiration for all bloggers, all basketball bloggers, that the fact that he rose to the level and, whatever, he was getting paid 7 figures, which honestly he deserves it, man, whatever. But to see him not being involved in NBA coverage, to me, is just very disorienting. We've had so many changes in how we consume media. You think about it, 2 years ago, institutions in basketball media inside the NBA, that's coming into this last season, this year. We might not have inside the NBA going forward. When you go to the NBA Finals, it is Mark Jackson talking to Jeff Van Gundy about Rihanna, with Mike Breen being and J.R. Smith hits a 3. That's gone. right? Yeah. Those guys are gone.
With all due respect.
When you're looking at news, in terms of like who's gonna, like watching for fireworks on Twitter. Twitter is now X, by the way, which also sucks. But like, you're on Twitter, you're looking for Woj, right? And those alerts, and that became like the whole thing. And then there were other Woj copycats that came after, but he did this thing. And then there was Zach for the analysis. All that's gone within 2 years. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's a little disorienting almost, but we'll see where Zach lands. I know he's going to do better. But still, yeah, that's my pick, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's still not going to come on the show.
Zach, please. Please.
Will's going to turn into Richard Deitch critiquing the sports media landscape.
Brian Curtis over here.
Oh, guys.
The press box.
What do you think he's going to get him, man? Amazon Prime? You think Amazon Prime's going to get him?
All right. Am I up?
Yep.
You are up.
You are. Non-player.
It could be anybody. Yeah, I miss you, Zach. That's all.
All right. So JJ Redick's one because you know the Bronny stuff, LeBron, but that's too obvious. Everyone's going with that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to go with?
Yeah.
Will's favorite coach in the NBA returning, Mike Budenholzer.
Oh, Coach Bud.
And here's why. Listen.
Okay.
There is not much left to tap from this aging, expensive, at its limit core in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, basically. Which you just left.
Most of us knew that this trio was doomed from the start. But still, listen, for all of the criticisms of Mike Budenholzer and for all of the deserved postseason criticisms he's gotten, if there's one thing that Mike Budenholzer does arguably better than any coach in the league, he forges a team's identity. He can organize them. Yeah, he creates a structure by which they play, and you know what you're going to get from, like, there's a consistency there. And I think given the amount of top-end talent Phoenix has, even though it's probably never going to be healthy, if by chance, for some reason, it all comes together this year from a health perspective, there is still enough talent here that with the right coach and a guy who can organize it properly and get it humming consistently for 82 games, again, just talking the regular season here, the Suns are still a potential player. Now, again, you could argue, well, it doesn't matter because Budenholzer's had his own playoff issues. And again, I'm not even saying they're going to compete for title. I'm just saying, given the collection of talent that is here, a coaching change and one specifically like Budenholzer that does come with that organizing kind of mantra, I think could be really big for a team that a lot of people aren't talking about because no one trusts them. And it's like, I don't trust them, but we are still talking about Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and to a much lesser extent, Bradley Beal.
I do like that he's coaching the Western Conference equivalent of the Milwaukee Bucks. It actually is very symmetrical. It's perfect. I like it.
Yeah, I was listening to my guy Bill Simmons yesterday, and he was talking about the Suns, and you know how we always hear about like players showing up in the best shape of their life, like for training camp. Yeah. It's the first time I've heard a coach. He said that Budenholzer's showing up in the best shape of his life.
I don't care about
the Suns.
Dog, he didn't work for a whole year. He better be.
We have a coach training camp report.
Yeah, how many pounds, bro? 10 to 15? Minus 10 to 15?
It's amazing, man.
Jesus Christ. What happened to the game I love, man? There's no Zach Lowe, but there's reports of Mike Budenholzer.
We're losing recipes.
Bro, what's Mike Budenholzer's BMI, man? Holy, man.
My final pick here is the
Just
Raptors.
No more DUIs, all right?
The Raptors content team. It's the 30th anniversary season this year. I think there's a lot of expectations about not just Vince Carter's jersey retirement ceremony. I know there's going to be a lot of plans about reminiscing about the first 3 decades of the team. There's going to be a lot of different plans when it comes to bringing, alum back, having super cool videos, all this other stuff that goes with making content. And I think it's a huge responsibility. I think it's very important for them this season, especially because it's year 1 of rebuilding. This is going to be huge. So, let's get more happy birthday Kevin Willis posts up on Twitter.
So you're picking the Raptors social team for round 7 of the most important guys
They're
of the
very
season.
Important this season.
I mean, I suppose we just heard about Mike Budenholzer's BMI, but
we heard about Dr. Jason Powell.
Come on, man. Sorry that my wild card pick was actually wild.
Cash has had some wild picks, man.
And you picked to draft a hot dog bud.
Speaking of Kevin Willis, well, I don't know if you're old enough to remember this. Alex, do you remember the Kevin Willis new VR commercial? And Kevin Willis?
I don't remember that one specifically.
Everyone go check that out.
People will remember that. Sexy Beast will remember
that. I don't know Kevin Willis, nor do I know the new
Kevin
VR.
Willis going to people's houses when the Raptors, I think it was like late 90s or mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
Anyway.
New VR was an iconic TV channel from Barry that carried the Raptors, man.
Go check
from
out that.
From Barry?
Yeah.
Wait, check out the Kevin Willis visits your home commercial.
Yeah.
Funny content.
That's crazy, man.
Surprised no one went with Wick Grusebeck?
Wick Grusebeck?
Yo, Celtics owner.
Not John Wick Grusebeck.
Hold on.
What? Because he's selling the Celtics?
Yo, that's a big thing.
Yo, Darren Rovell over here.
Yo, that's a big thing. Come on, man. You've seen me run. I'm not Darren Rovell. Yo, that's a big deal. Legit. The most prestigious franchise in basketball, coming off winning a title.
Yeah, I didn't know the Lakers were for sale.
Yeah, that's true. They're the most glamorous. Also, I don't know if you guys read some of the reporting too, where it's like it all stemmed from a big disagreement with his dad, who actually owns the larger share of the team.
Succession.
His dad basically was like unhappy with the fact that Wick's like spending so much.
Yeah.
Even though Wick's just like, yo, I just want to win a championship. So anyway, that's apparently behind the sale. Also, just like, yo, they're gonna set the market and then some. The Celtics.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, I was being tongue in cheek. I didn't actually have them. But
any other honorable?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what
mentions
other Lucy's do you guys have? Like sicko, like because at this point I didn't think we got a team doctor on here.
I mean, I was running low after round one.
I didn't think we had a team socials staff.
I didn't really have too many other ones.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys define.
I don't know why I had Lawrence Frank on here. I guess I'm just trying to see how he wiggles out of this jam.
Yeah. So
Lawrence Frank just listening to Jason Powell at the end of the day, man. Come on.
Man, we all have our bosses. All right, let's recap. So for the most important guys of the season, I have Victor Wembanyama. I got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Damian Lillard, Joel Embiid, Zion Williamson. As the wild card, I have Bronny James, and I have Zach Lowe as my seventh.
He's not going to come on the show, bro.
Come on the show, Zach. Yeah. I don't know what else you're doing.
Return my last 7 texts from the last 5 years.
Drink that one beer, buddy. Cash has Karl-Anthony Towns, Paul George, Jimmy Butler, John Morant, and Klay Thompson. And then he has Jason Powell, MD, and Mike Budenholzer's weight. And then we have Alex's pick. Somehow decided OG Anunoby is the third most important player for this upcoming season. Jamal Murray,
I didn't know
Anthony
OG Anunoby
Edwards,
wrote this.
Kawhi Leonard, Scotty Barnes, and then for your wild card, you have Jacky Cui, and you have the Raptors social team.
That's right.
So a lot to look forward to for this upcoming season. Obviously, we'll follow Cash's coverage of this. You can follow all of Cash's work over at theScore. We're gonna know you're gonna be doing a lot more Raptors coverage this season as well. I've always looked forward to that. Shouts to Raptor blog back in the day. But speaking of Raptor blogs of today, breaking news: the Nation Network, which is the network that we are under, that we are working with here. Nation Network actually went out and acquired Raptors Republic.
Damn, let's go.
I don't know if you guys have been following the news on LinkedIn or the press releases. I've seen it on Twitter now as well. But
official announcement came down.
They've acquired Raptors Republic. That's obviously a site that I'm very dear to because that's where I got my career start. That's where guys like Blake Murphy got his career start. I know. Have you ever had a? You had a story on there once or twice. I know you're a Raptors HQ guy back in the day.
One of my first stories that I wrote was for Raptors Republic. I was living in New York at the time, and that's when the Raptors played Brooklyn in that 2013-14 series.
Would you write a quick reaction?
I remember I wrote some stuff there. I did a pod with Blake Murphy once at the basement of an Airbnb in Cleveland after the Cavs beat the Raptors in Game 5 of the conference finals by like 55 points.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, no, but Raptors Republic, like they've always been obviously, at the forefront of Raptors coverage. I think they've cultivated a great fan base, and shouts to the Nation Network as well. The team that we've been working with. I think when we first joined them, they talked about kind of bringing us in and kind of thinking about how to expand the basketball coverage here in this country. So I think this is a exciting next move for them.
Yeah, no, I always like that when there's actual more money put into covering the teams that you love, and I think that that's a good opportunity here. Also, Raps Republic has always been a developmental pipeline for up and coming, young talent. Samson Folk, Louis Atzman, S. Burhaney, like those guys are all part of this deal, and they're going to be continuing to grow and flourish. And of course, we've already heard about Samson coming on our show occasionally. We saw him on the React Pod after the loss to Boston. We might see him again this week, but yeah, just wanted to make that announcement. The Nation Network making big moves, and that was a smooth transition from Raptor blog to the news of another blog of the Toronto Raptors. So, Cash, we want to say thank you once again. We will see you next week.
See you on Tuesday on the Unfiltered Show, boys.
Unfiltered Show. It is also, by the way, I just love coming to the SCORE offices, man. It's beautiful. It's on the water there, you know what I mean? Overlooking that the factory that used
sugar
to be there.
factory?
The sugar factory. That's right,
Sugar
baby.
Beach.
Red Path.
Sugar
Shouts to
Beach.
Red Path. But yeah, those are our most important guys. So we're going to say goodbye to Cash real quick, and then we're going to wrap up with a couple of closing thoughts. We want to take this break in the podcast to let you know that we are partnering with Tangerine for this season. For people who aren't familiar, Tangerine is the official bank of the Toronto Raptors and its fans, and Tangerine is a foundational partner of NBA Canada and WNBA Canada. Tangerine is focused on growing the game of basketball in the country from the grassroots level all the way up to the pros, and where you will find a court, you will likely find Tangerine. And that's the mission that really resonated with us, because we also share the same goal of growing the game of basketball here in Canada. What you need to know about Tangerine is that they are about forward banking. That means no unfair fees, no overly complicated products, no expensive brick and mortar branches. And if you want to learn more about Tangerine, go to tangerine.ca. All right. Huge thank you once again to Joseph Casciaro for joining us on the program. Always great to catch up with Cash. We just have a couple of concluding thoughts here, Alex, and I'm going to let you take it away, man. What's on your mind, Mr. Wong?
Yeah, you picked Shai as one of your most important guys, and we were talking about how the Thunder are probably going to roll through the regular season as long as they're healthy, maybe challenge for the best record in the league. So right now on Betway, the Thunder are 4-1 for most regular season wins this season. So Boston is the favorite. Ooh. OKC is second. Mm-hmm. I really think, we went through the over-unders as well. I really think, barring injury, OKC is going to win like 65 games. So what are your thoughts on OKC at 4-1 to have the best regular season record this season?
Man, that's a lot. That's a lot of wins, man. You know, Boston had, how many wins did Boston have last year? 64?
I think Boston was at 64.
And I think OKC was at like 53-ish.
OKC they're a little bit, they're around there. I think a little higher than that. I'm going to double check. But
just go double check for me, man. But I do think that, like, that is a big, big jump, man. And I do think that, like, Hartenstein and Caruso, those guys are big additions for them. They address positions of need. But I think those are bigger impacts that you will see come time for the playoffs. In terms of the regular season, the issue is I just don't want to pick anybody from the West. Anybody from the West to me just feels like too crowded out. There's
scared money don't make money, man.
My money is scared. I'm not making this one. Sorry, man.
OKC won 57 games last season.
57. Okay, that's a lot of games.
Finished with the number one seed.
All right.
I do think if you're comparing just OKC and Boston, I think OKC might have more incentive to try to push for that number one seed. So make sure you hit the QR code on Betway if you like this bet. Sure. It's 4-1 OKC for most regular season wins. Yeah, it was a great episode with Cash, man. Always fun having him on. Excited to be on his unfiltered show this season, you know?
Always, man. It's the third time you said that.
Yeah, just want to give...
That's how excited you are, man.
Just want to let people know that we are recording a banter pod. It'll come out next Friday.
Oh, word?
So if you're still listening, you're definitely one of the diehards who want to tap in. Make sure you email info@stevenlebron.com. If you have any questions, we're going to run through a little bit of our Montreal trip, answer some questions.
Yep.
Talk about Joe Cash's wedding a little bit. I don't know.
Cash's wedding.
Yeah, we'll see what else. Surprise birthday party.
Surprise birthday party for Alex, 40th birthday. Me going to see Lionel Messi, which was really cool.
Yep. Jerome editing clips.
Jerome meeting my brother in between editing clips. You know, there was a lot.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get to meet your brother.
Yo, you stopped my brother.
Jacky Cui.
Yo, honestly, they look they look a little similar, man.
Yeah. You got to put him in that Mandarin collar suit, which by the way, I
love a Mandarin collar suit. Is just another way of saying a Chinese suit. Like
I just didn't like Cam Thomas or Nick Claxton be like, he in a Chinese suit.
He basically a Chinese.
But come on, there's a proper name for that.
He looked like Chris Tucker when he walked through the streets of Hong Kong, and he ended up. Remember, he got a cheap suit, and then he also bought a chicken.
Yeah, and then they start jumping through bamboo.
Yeah. So the regular things that happen in China, by the way.
Happy birthday! Shout out to Johnson at CCYA.
Oh, word?
AKA Asian Lethal Shooter. It is his birthday.
Oh, wow.
One of these days this week.
He's the real Jacky Cui, man.
Johnson, man, shouts to you. Always been a big supporter. You're not a fan. You're a friend. I hope you know that.
Alex says this to everybody he sees, though. So I've heard him use this line at least 10 times.
Yeah, sorry. It's my LeBron staring at the 3-point line. And finally, we shouted out Patois. Shouts to Lena for always making time to accommodate us here at Hardo Studio.
Thank you.
And of course, Craig and Ivy and the entire team. And I did see Patois post this week that somebody came to Patois because of you, my brother. So Monica Knowles wrote a 5-star review for Patois, and she said, quote, "Heard about this restaurant from Will Liu in one of his podcasts, and it did not disappoint. We will 100% be coming back. So many more things to try. You must get the shrimp pasta and Caesar salad." I do second that. "The flavor is incredible, great service, and friendly atmosphere. 10 out of 10.
Damn.
So
I didn't know we had the influence like that.
Yeah, man. There's always
that's
motion.
Really nice.
There's always motion when the product is good.
That's really, really nice. Yeah, I always think about like, again, like us going independent, like we've received so much support. Big thanks to the Nation Network. More big acquisitions on the way. But like, I think with all these companies that have like stepped up to sort of be part of the show as sponsors for these even places that have like open their doors to us to sort of even share resources like here at Patois.
Yeah.
Shouts to Red Bull, like we were at Red Bull Studios, Hongqing, like there's all these places that like
Kevin in Montreal made his studio space available to us.
Yeah, that's right. I think if you look up their studio, Sonar Virage, I think you can actually see that there's a new Google review with the photo of the two of us with Matt Devlin on there.
That's amazing.
It was written by yours truly, but no, I think we've just been like very, very fortunate to have like the community embrace us, to support us, and I don't know, it's just very, very touching. But in this case, obviously, we're always very happy to shout out Patois. They do a lot for us, and also just genuinely the food is delicious. I'm actually really excited to have lunch, like downstairs, hopefully afterwards. Maybe I don't know.
It'll open until 5.
I'll ask Ivy.
You can grab a patty at June Plum.
I'm more than happy to grab any patties at June Plum.
You're just a podcaster,
anytime.
bro.
That's okay. That's okay. So. Yeah, Alex, man. What else? Is there anything else?
That's it, man. Like you always mention, especially with the season starting, like if you can rate and review our show, if you can subscribe. Honestly, if you know people that are Raptors fans in your space, let them know too. I'll be running into a lot of people on the street. Some of them are obviously already subscribed to Hello and Welcome, giving us great feedback. We really appreciate it. Some of them don't know that we started a new podcast.
Right.
So it's the word of mouth is very important to us. I think as the season gets started, we want to just keep building this audience. People know what to expect when they come to us. React pods. These episodes we do with our guests, with our friends, banter pods. But we're gonna be doing some other stuff too this season, and I think it's gonna be super fun for everyone to be a part of it. Yeah, no, seriously, we are. We put in a lot of work before the season even started, but now that the season is here, you're gonna see us every day, especially if you follow us on social. Hit us up on all our social accounts at Hello Welcome Pod, wherever you use social. So anyway, that's enough promos for now. Thanks everyone for listening. And this has been the Hello and Welcome Podcast presented by Betway.